Guitar 101 Rammstein, and I've decided to start doing a series of videos based on exotic instruments. They're going to be in several different videos I'll be putting out, classified into different groups. Like, we're going to start off with some percussion, we're going to strings and wind instruments along with others, you know, because I'm not that much into wind instruments because I don't play them very good. So I'll put the others along in that category. So we'll start off with percussion. I have a pretty decent amount of exotic percussion. I'm going to start this video out with just some of the weirdest stuff that I just grabbed around the studio here. I will do some more videos on percussion as far as like the different instruments I have that aren't in this video, like djembe, darbuka, doumbeks, frame drums, you name it. I've been into exotic instruments ever since I can remember being into music. Traveled a lot when I was younger with my parents throughout the world, North Africa, Europe, and you know, I was always, even at a young age, buying things that I could get to take home as far as exotic instruments. So I've collected quite a few over the years. So we'll start out with some of the weirder ones. Some of these are not so uncommon, but I'm just taking a quick collection to run through. Let's start off with maybe the most known, some of them. It's a small version of a shakere. Shakere. It's an African instrument, Western African. And it's made from a gourd with a string tied in a net around it with usually seashells or some kind of beads on it. They come much bigger, and I mean, there's different ways to play them, like where you hold it like this, because there's a hole at the bottom, so you would hear a thump and it would be hollow at this end. This is just like a handheld shaker. I use it on recordings quite a bit. It's just like an auxiliary kind of additive, whether you roll it in your hand or even, you know, so it's a cool one. I use it quite a bit, I have to say. It's just those little additives I use in recordings. Next we'll look on, this is still not so unknown. It's castanets. You see, I have two, but I just took one. It takes quite a bit of practice to play them. So what I found to make it easier to use them just for recordings without having to practice them all the time is on the back handle, when you squeeze them, they open. And normally you're putting your finger through the string this way and here, and you adjust the knot, and you're squeezing at the top to hold them that kind of open, and when you shake your hand, it's going to cause them to close. Takes a lot of practice, well, quite a bit, to just get the technique down. I haven't practiced them for a long time, but I'll just hold them in one hand where they're slightly open, and you can just use your fingers. So it works really good just for recordings, and it has a very, it's a hard wood that has a distinct sound that really cuts through on the mic, I have to say. Another one that's not that uncommon, it's, I guess, an exotic instrument. I think this was from South America. I can't remember where it was purchased from, but it's a rain stick. It's usually a piece of bamboo. They can be much larger. It's got usually a bunch of toothpicks. This looks like nails inside, and some kind of like, I don't know, some beans or grains inside. So like an hourglass, it fills and falls down. And if you turn it really fast, it goes fast. But if you do slow, you can actually keep it going for a long time, and almost like if you keep moving to balance it back and forth, it gives a kind of water type sound. It's a little different. Also, it makes a good kind of additive on some music to just, as a percussive kind of effect. Nothing much more to that. It's not that hard not an instrument you have to really learn how to play. This one's a cool one. I tend to use a lot as well in recordings, and it's a singing bowl. I think it was bought off of eBay. It was one of those things where in the picture it looked a lot bigger, and I think it came from China, so it's really small. It's not a good singing bowl. I do use it a lot, like I said, but not normally as a singing bowl where you're going to make it ring, which I'll try to show you how that works in a minute. It's hard to do with a small one. But I'll actually just use it for like a bell. The sustain goes on really long. That's what the wooden beater came with. They're all used one. This is like a brass one. It's a bit sharper. And I mean, traditionally, you're gonna. Yeah, when you rotate around the friction of the wood, like a wine glass, you know, when you wet your finger, will start ringing. If you get a bigger one, it's a lot more impressive for that. So that's why I just use this for a bell. This is one I started to make, and I have to rebuild some of it. It's a Sistrum, and it's an old Egyptian instrument. It's like a tambourine, and just in this case, I modified. I used some bones, and it's just a wire, like a slingshot kind of piece of wood, some metal wire, and normally they'll put like the things from tambourines or even beer bottle caps smashed down. So I made a few of them. This one I started to rebuild because some of the parts broke off, and it's just got 2 pieces of bone, so it doesn't make a lot of noise, but you can just shake it or hit it against your hand. Even using on like a drum, it can sound pretty cool. So that's another one I actually use quite a bit. I like it more than a tambourine, to be honest. In this box, it's not really an instrument, but I use it for one. I've got a few Rattlesnake Tails. A bigger one and a little bit smaller. And I have to say, these things sound awesome on the microphone, especially if you set up a stereo mic, which I have here, so. And 2 at a time sounds even better. And that's just another kind of like auxiliary thing. What I've been meaning to do is attach these to like a really thin wire so it's easier to shake them faster. I had a friend that works with CNC like laser cutting. So he had some shapes he just had cut out left from work. And I saw this, I was like, I want to try that. And it's just a metal steel disc. But it sounds almost like a triangle, but I don't know, I like it better. Even with the circular inside. And with a wooden beater, bit different sound. Resonating. And the stereo sound. And here, they're not too uncommon. I'm sure when you hear it, you'll recognize it maybe if you listen to any folk music. It's what we call a Jew's harp or jaw harp. And they're using a lot of different types of music. I came across one of these when I was a really young kid visiting some family in Sicily and bought one there. And I've had quite a few since. You'll hear them in folk music from Sicily, from all over the place. Even in Scandinavian folk music, you can hear these. And it's a strange instrument. It's very easy to whack your teeth with it. You're going to hold it between your teeth and pluck on this little flimsy metal piece. And what I found with these is if you inhale, like when you use it, and exhale, you can really get cool sounds, especially when you're running through a microphone. Getting a bit stranger still is the gopichand, or it's also called Katara. This is an instrument from Bengal. It's a Hindu instrument. It's generally made out of a piece of bamboo with like a kind of drum head at the bottom, tuning peg, and 1 string, and it's carved out here so you can squeeze it to change the pitch of the string. You'll see larger ones as well. This is a small kind of cheap one. You can tune it. it's basically it's a stringed instrument, but in the percussive family, the way I would use it. I don't think I maybe have used this on 1 or 2 recordings. It's got a weird sound, and if you play around with it long enough, it can be really cool. The smaller shape is a little hard to get my finger to go fast, especially when I start squeezing it in, but I have heard a few people visiting that made this thing sound actually really cool. This is a fun one, talking drum. They have different versions of these from different parts of the world. This one is from Pyeongtaek City. I think that's Philippines. It's a really cheap one. It's like a kid's toy almost. It's got like some cartoon on it. I actually bought this at a secondhand shop for I think like $1. It's really cheaply made. There is a crack in one of the heads. It came with a little mallet beater, but basically you hold it under your arm and squeeze the ropes to change the pitch. I started to use this on a recording. I have to finish up, and you know, it's amazing. It's a cheap instrument. It's like a synthetic head. Has a cool, unique sound to it though. So put enough effects on there, it'll actually sound okay. Last thing I've got here on the table is kind of strange. A violin bow and some rosin. Not percussion. But a cymbal is percussion. And we're going to look at bowed cymbals, which is a cool thing. I think it's not totally unknown, but a lot of people have never heard of it. Even drummers I've talked to, and when I show them, they're like, wow. So I'm going to have to change the camera angle for this one. But if you're going to bow a cymbal, you want to have the bow pretty tight and use a lot of rosin. So while I'm rosining up, we'll get that angle changed. Okay, so put a lot of rosin on the bow, and you'll get a few different kinds of sounds out of this. They're all really cool. If I don't hold it and I just kind of start going on the edge pretty easy, it's almost like a real subtle cymbal swell. If I grind down more at an angle, and another trick is to kind of just use a finger to hold it by the bell to just stop it from moving so much. Very interesting sound, I always thought. And you can experiment with it, like what angle you go at the edge. Where you place your finger, and what kind of cymbal. This is an old Zildjian, I think it's called a swish cymbal. That works really nice for this. Bigger rides work, but I can use pretty much any cymbal. I'll try it right now on an ice bell. Or this is a bigger crash. Splash. It's moving too much for me to reach it. But yeah, you get the idea. You can use any cymbal for it. Bigger cymbals tend to just ring out this lower note that I like. That's and they resonate for a long time. It's got a cool spacey kind of vibe to it. Also acts as a really good kind of backing percussion type of track that I would use in my music. So that's it for this first video of it. Like I said, I'll be going into different series with stringed instruments, with the rest of the percussion I've got, all sorts of things. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of the videos I do in the future. Thanks for watching.